So hopefully we don't have any technical issues because that can happen sometimes.
Yes. Hmm. Hmm.
So, but yeah, we usually just kind of chat for a little bit, and when I see that I know that people are able to watch it, then I'll just go ahead and launch into the program.
Okay.
So it'll be fine.
Okay.
So, all right. So I think we're ready to get started. Hey, this is Mac McCullough here at Willard Library, and we're doing another episode of Stories at Sundown. We're going to start doing those regularly again this summer and into the fall. And I'm really excited about that and a lot of other things, but very honored today to have my guest. Her name is Nakisha Newton. Nakisha is a lifelong resident of Battle Creek. She grew up in Orchard Park neighborhood, which is north of Washington Heights, and attended former Washington School. And I remember being in that building, and I just always loved that building. I love a lot of the old school buildings here. I wish they were still used. Today, Nakisha is a personal trainer at the Heart Dole in a Way Federal Center, where she's worked. How long have you worked there? No, year.
About a year.
Yeah. So that's cool. But what we're here to talk about, nearly 2 years ago, Nakisha and her family experienced what no parent or family should experience. Her daughter, Inaya Hollins, was shot and killed. Um, Wrong place at wrong time while attending a house party on Hanover Street. She was 24 years old. She had just accepted a position at the Federal Center, in fact. And when I read the memorial, Anaya was remembered, and I just love this, as someone who lived every day like it was her birthday. And so I want you to tell a little bit about her. But first, we'll say what really the big thing here is Nakisha is the founder of Hearts. And Hearts stands for Hands Extended Amongst Randomly Taken Souls. It's an organization dedicated to supporting people touched by gun violence. And we've had a lot of that in our town. I think we're up to 3 this year, I think. That's what I read last. And also trying to unite the community in an effort to end it. Nakisha, I'm so happy that you've joined us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And so, we'll talk about Hearts and the event that you coming up. But just to get started, tell us a little bit about Inaya. Everything I've read, she was just, a bright light.
She was. Inaya was 24 years old. I had my child on my 18th birthday. So in a sense, we grew up together. She was a great child. Very happy, known for her smile, her laugh. She loved being around family. She was a great big sister. She has 2 younger sisters. And she just liked being around family. She was a great child.
And what did she want to do? I mean, I also noticed that she worked at the what was it, U.S. Addiction Call Center for a bit.
She did.
What did she see her life as unfolding for? What was she passionate about?
I think she was just passionate about her life in general. As just starting off, she didn't get her chance. As being 24, no children, finishing high school, just enjoying life as she should. So she was just ready to take off, and was taken too soon.
Yeah, she was. And how are you? And how's your family? And how's that been?
Life's been rough.
Sure.
It has. It's a process for sure. I feel like it's just something that we're learning to deal with every day. Every day is something different, a different feeling, a different emotion. So, I just deal with things as they come.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate the people that I have to support me, to keep me up in my spirits. My children, they're doing okay. My little one ran into a couple hard spots, bad decisions in school. She had a lot on her shoulders.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, they're some strong little girls as well. So, I'm glad that we have each other to get through this.
You told me a story when we met, going through that rough spot with your one daughter, and how the school responded was very actually refreshing to me, because, a lot of kids carry a lot of trauma to school every day, and not always does everybody know about it either, right?
Correct.
And they get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But you told me that they really saw who she was, and and understood what she was going through.
She was going through.
Yeah,
And I commend them for that.
yeah,
I do.
that's terrific.
Mhm.
Yeah, I want to hear more stories like that because I've heard the opposite so many times as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
Um, and I think I wanted to talk a little bit about uh, your family. Well, we just did, but your brother. And
Yes.
you shared with me that this is the second family member that you lost to gun violence. Your brother in 1991. Tell us a little
91.
bit about him.
His name was Randy Johnson. Um, he was outside at a bar and got into an altercation, and he was shot one time in his chest, and he passed away at the age of 21. Yeah. So here we are again, history repeating itself um, with my child again. So
Yeah. And, this danger just so close.
it is.
And, we'll talk more about this, about how in a community like Battle Creek, I don't think it should be. Easy for me to say, maybe, I don't know. But what, we become sort of inured to it because it just happens year after year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's sad to say that now at this point, I'm preparing, for the next, with this organization, that's pretty much what we are doing, preparing for the next one, which is really, really sad. But it's something that we are experiencing, we are really going through, and it's rough for these families,
Yeah.
for myself.
So, talk a little bit about the traumatic effects on people, but also on communities, because when we met last week, you really did talk about that impact on a community in the sense you'd like to say that an impact like that would galvanize the community to come together, but that doesn't seem to happen.
It doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
It does not. As Hearts, we have these walks every third Sunday to promote gun violence and also, to remember the ones that we have lost, to keep our family members' names going. And sometimes you don't always see the support that you would think is out there, at these walks, versus it being something else. I feel like more people would gather for, but seeing how this issue is, I feel like we need to come out more to support one another, because it's happening way too often.
Yeah, yeah. Where in the community do you find support?
I find support pretty much through my family support. I've went through the phase of doctor's visits and medication, anxiety, depression, and like I said, those things still comes in waves, and I just deal with them as they come. But family, yes, and then I just been learning how to cope with different things, whether it's through exercise, keeping busy, trying to help others. It's just a whole process to cope, but we have to keep moving. So
one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely.
And let the pain be there because you can't duck it, right?
Correct.
Back to that idea, we talked a lot about why it might be that communities don't necessarily, especially when it's so often. And so I was doing a lot of reading to kind of refresh about how a trauma like that really rips at the fabric of how communities, collaborate and communicate and come together. It's while that's the answer, it's also the thing that makes it so tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, what is your theory? Is it just that that's the way you cope with living with the uncertainty about when it's going to happen next and the feeling you can't do anything about it?
Certain things you can't do things about, it's just a part of life. But certain things you can do, or you can at least try. So, and that's what I feel that's what I'm doing. I at least have to try and do something.
So, and I really commend you for it because it really does. There's also a lot of research that says that people that are harmed by trauma and communities that physical, emotional, and social support can actually really do wonders. It can really start to mend some of that because it's always about human relationships. So tell me about Hearts, how it got started, and the people that are on your board. You're it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little about that.
So this was just written down as a idea that happened to come into my brain. Just because a lot of my healing has been through writing things down. I have written different poetry, different journal entries, whatever, so have you. So
Yeah.
this was another thing that I written down, and I said I'm gonna move forward to bringing it to life, and so I just wanted to be of some assistance to these families that are going through what I have been through.
Yeah.
Just to provide a service, physically, financially, emotionally, for any type of support, because all support helps.
Yeah.
Whether it's big support, little support, every little inch helps, and so that's what this organization, this is how it came about. So we just trying to provide a service for these families, like I said, to lift off a little bit of their burden from what they are going through.
So bringing food,
We do
or
hospitality baskets.
finding some assistance to
Absolutely.
keep the lights on, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
even if it's a resource. If we can't necessarily help you from the
You can
pockets of
connect
hearts,
them. Yeah.
we can at least gear you for a resource for that.
Yeah. And who did you found? You have a board. Who are
I
the others?
do. So I have myself, and then I have Miss Aprillie Vaughn as our president, and I have Miss Carrie Wilson as our vice president, and Trudy Matthews as our treasurer. And these ladies have been awesome to me as far as being on my team and helping to make these things happen.
Yeah. Yeah. When you look around the community, and you just said you find some resources, how well equipped are we as a community to bring those? I mean, bringing the resources is one thing, and that's where you're coming in because you see that gap, obviously. But are you finding the resources there that people don't necessarily know about, or is it really tough to dig those up?
I feel like it's kind of a little bit of both, but I feel like the resources are there.
Yeah.
And people are willing to help. And we have just been up and running since March, and we have seen the help that has came through so far. So I feel like the resources are there. People just need to know how to access them.
Do you have a couple of examples of those that our listeners might want to hear about, where those resources are?
Oh, so for trauma, we put the resource for trauma yoga out there.
Yeah.
That was for the month of May. For every single Sunday, it was for childhood trauma, trauma from your past, trauma that you're going through now. Any type of trauma, that was a resource. Whether you can just come to yoga or you need to use this resource as one-on-one, that was available. We have had Dr. Alicia Johnson for mental health. She was a speaker at one of our walks on Sundays. She's a resource that we can send
Yeah,
these people
she's awesome.
to. You know what I'm saying? So there are resources out there.
Yeah, yeah. We were talking a little bit about trauma yoga, and I go to a class where a woman who is certified in it, and she talks a lot about shifting your perspective. Doesn't make the bad things go away, but just looking at it a little differently, and then the deep breathing and the meditative energy that you spend, and it's really grounded in love and recognizing the spirit in everybody around you. Yeah, that's good stuff. And so this, yeah, you talked a little bit about the stuff you do for families. You really just try to wrap your arms around them.
Just to provide a little bit of comfort.
Yeah. And it helps, you think?
I feel like it does help because I know that the comfort that was there for me, that came from many different arms. So if I can provide a little comfort for the next family, then absolutely.
Good. And you have an event coming up, and I'm going to put that up on the screen. Healing Hearts in the Hood family event from 1 to 5, June 24th, Clyde Evans Park, which is 300 North Avenue. And I'll leave that up on the screen for a little bit. But what's happening there?
So
I have the handout if you need notes or anything.
Yes, we are doing just a free community family event. It's called Healing Hearts in the Hood. And we're just having a gathering to acknowledge these families that have been impacted by gun violence. And, to also acknowledge the ones that we have lost to keep their memories alive. So it's just an array of different events that we're having, different vendors to come in to offer these services. We have free food that we're giving out, just different games and activities, volleyball, double dutch. We have 3-on-3 basketball tournament, just a array of things for these families to enjoy for
Yeah.
this day for free.
Yeah. It'd be nice if a lot of people in the community showed up for it, right? Just to let them
Absolutely.
know they're not alone,
Hmm.
even if gun violence hasn't touched their lives.
Correct.
It's touching our community, and so it's touching us.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's hard though, because people live in their little and everybody's guilty of it. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it too, right? I mean, we have our lives, we're busy, we see what's right in front of us, and we sometimes can really lack empathy for what's happening across town or in another state or
Mhm.
anywhere.
Mhm.
That's them, but it's really us, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. We're all in it together.
We are. And we're hurting. And, we need that healing within our communities and to come together for that. So,
Yeah. How have you found? And so I know actually, both your daughter's killer and your brother's killer. I mean, they were well, the man who killed your daughter received a pretty short sentence because of the plea, and also your brother.
Mhm.
Does that shake your trust in law enforcement and courts to be able to help you?
It's a little discouraging.
Sure.
It's a little discouraging. I believe after speaking with our law enforcement, they are doing what they can.
Yeah.
I feel
It's a
like.
hard job.
It is. It is. But then the judicial system is what is discouraging for me
Sure.
because, after having a track record and then doing such a crime, there's no way he should be out, in my opinion, walking next month. But that's what it is. So
Yeah, he had weapons violations in his past, and he had other run-ins at the law in his past. So that has to be hard.
very.
Yeah. I want you also to talk a little bit, and I'm not familiar with the pastor or the church who is partnering with you on this. I'm going to put them up. Raul Masonette. And
He has Hood Church every third Saturday of the month, and it's at 365 Northeast Capitol, Southwest, I do believe.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it a new church?
It is not. It's something that I've never heard of before. I was just newly introduced recently to Mr. Raul, so it's something very new to me as well. I did attend one of his services for Hood Church, and it was great. It was outside. It was great. Very uplifting. I've heard nothing but good things about him. So, it was my pleasure to be able to collaborate with him on this event.
Maybe I should have him on to talk about his ministry, but I'm just curious about what made it uplifting and what made it different.
What made it different? For one, it wasn't in the four walls of a church building.
Yeah.
That was very much different to me. And then it was very formal, easygoing.
Yeah.
It felt kind of like home. So, that was uplifting to me.
Yeah. Some people get away from church and because it just doesn't feel those things. I don't know the answers to those. I mean, everybody's different, but defining a place like that where you can really connect with people is really important, which is what you're trying to do here.
Yes.
I'm trying to think if I have any other questions, but are there things you want to add?
You had asked me about what does healing look like the last time I was
yes,
here, and I left with that for days. But to answer your question, to me, healing is a process, and it's such a deep process. So, nobody's waking up one morning and be like, oh, I'm healed. So in order for us to heal, I feel like, to me, that looks like coming together to unite in unity as a community. That's what it's going to take for us to heal. And then just building better foundations within our homes, within our school systems, churches, better foundations within our police departments. It takes all of us to come together. So that's what healings look like to me.
Yeah.
And also maybe just to love on each other a little bit harder, and live in the present, because clearly life is not promised to any one of us. So, to me, that's what healing looks like.
Yeah. And to really, like you said it already, bond as a community. We're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
I said that 3 times now. And I ask better questions when I'm not nervous being on live internet. So if you remember any other, great questions I asked you, please bring them up. But, there's a book that's in our library. I always try to get people to come down and read the library books or read books in the library. Check them out.
Mm-hmm.
Tribe by Sebastian Younger. And it's come up a few times for me lately, but a line in that book really talks about how, if things get bad, and sometimes, in this crazy world with climate change and violence, and sometimes we feel like we're on the precipice of something terrible and all that stuff. And if that were to come to pass, the communities that would survive were the ones that stick together. Local government can't even do it. It has to be the people themselves providing that kind of connection and relationships with people.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
Now, I so appreciate you coming in. I mean, it can't be easy, and it takes a lot of courage, and I'm really grateful that you're doing it. And I hope other folks get out and support you, if not at that event, then maybe in other ways,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of people in pain. And it's, as you say, what does healing look like? Coming together, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And thank you for watching. And I hope you share this around on all your social media networks. I got to start using that again more often. But share it and come back in a couple of weeks, and we'll be here again. And thank you, JR. JR Reynolds says inspiring. So again, have a great evening, and we'll see you soon. Take care.